Hey guys, I'm back again. Thank you for joining me for our third episode of CherishTV. Um, did I say my name? I think I did. Okay. Rama of the Cherished You. Okay. Just so we got that straight. Sometimes I forget what I said. All right. So today we're going to be talking about the second, but not really in order, second phase of energy that I mentioned last week. So last week we talked about grounding, and this week we're going to be talking about activation. And just so you understand, when I mention my lingo, this is what I'm talking about. And you guys don't get all confused. And if you do get confused, you have some like concise place to go to and watch something and make it understand so that you can make sense of what I'm talking about. Anyway, so activation. Activation is it's something I came up with, honestly. Or spirit gave it to me, depending on how you want to phrase that one. But one day it was after a workout, and I was like, oh, I feel really good and I feel like ready to go. And I was like, why do I feel ready to go? I was like, that's weird. And that's really what kind of started this whole process for me. As to, I was like, okay, how do I phrase this? How does this make sense? How can I make this so that other people will understand what I'm talking about? And the activation really kind of comes back down to an Ayurvedic principle. Now, I will be talking about Ayurveda. I have not mentioned it up until this point, but Ayurveda is something that is a central part, is kind of like this undercurrent that is a part of my process. About how I teach self-care. And I'll go into it in depth at a future point, but just for a quick reminder, like just a quick overview, just so you understand where I'm coming from. There's three body types in Ayurveda, and body types is probably a little bit incorrect, but there's three types of energy, all right? There's Kapha, Vata, and Pitta. And Kapha is kind of this slow-moving, earthy energy. Vata is this airy, kind of, if you would think about like the best way. I kind of went with zodiacs actually when I learned this. So Kapha was more of the earth sign. So it's the Capricorn, the Virgos, the Tauruses. All right, it's really slow-moving. It's earthy. It's sensual. That's what Kapha is. Vata is more airy and movement and high energy. So that's more of like the air sign. So like Gemini, Libra, that kind of a thing. And then Pitta is the fire. So Pitta is like the fire energy. So that's more of like the Aries, Sagittarius, Leo kind of thing. And if you guys are into zodiacs, I will be mentioning all this. I'm telling you guys, I'm going to get to all of this stuff at a future point. It's just something I got to build up to. But that's kind of like a really quick, generalized, way too broad definition of how I'm going to be mentioning Ayurveda right now. But as I was learning because this is back last year and a half, almost 2 years ago, when I was learning learning Ayurveda, like in a setting, in an actual like academic setting, I learned that I was a Kapha Vata mix, meaning you have all three energies in you, but the balance of them is going to be different for each person. And my balance, I had more Kapha and some Vata and very little Pitta in my being. And so there was, as I was learning this, and I'm trying to put it into practice because that's how I learn. And after one day, I'd worked out and kind of suffered through my HIIT workout that day, and I was stretching out and stuff. And after I was done, I was like, I'm like ready to go, man. I got all this energy. I gotta go put it somewhere. I got work to do. What work do I have to do today? And I was like, man, I had not felt like that in almost 2 years at that point. Like I had felt so sluggish. I had re-diagnosed myself as being depressed because that's what it felt like to me. I felt like depressed again. I didn't want to get out of bed, and I was not moving at all. And when I did move, I like trudged through it, and it was the hardest thing I'd ever do that day. But I had no energy, and all of a sudden now I had all this energy. And the way that I traced it back was like, okay, so I activated the Vata in me. I kind of balanced it out with the Kapha, and I balanced out those two energies. And I was like, okay. So it's something I did, activated this, and I tested it out with my clients. Later on, after I had finished my Ayurvedic training, I went and, tested out my theory, not really letting them know that I was testing it out on them, but kind of worked with my clients, and these are a few handful of clients that I had that I was working with in person, and I'm like, let's just kind of like mix all this together and see what happens. And it worked with them too, but it didn't always activate the same energy. Just because it activated Vata in me doesn't mean it activated Vata in them. So it was very different. For some people, it was when they activated it, they got calmer. They got more like the kapha, like the slower energy. They were able to kind of calm themselves down because they're always so hyperactive. Or with other people, it was like they got this, they got all this energy to want and like do something really productive, and that's really what I identified with, like with pitta energy, you know, like this like fire to go in and get stuff done, or go in and kind of like, and not really destroy, because that's what usually people identify with fire with, but fire can also be very energizing if you use it right. So I noticed this, that it activated in different people in different ways depending on what it is that they needed. So I was like, okay, great. So I was like, that means this is not like a set thing. That means it works per person, which is always my goal. Whatever I come up with something, or something that seems like an idea to me, I was like, can this be applied to anyone in any situation? Because if it just works for one type, then it's useless to me, because I can't give that out to the world, because it's only going to help certain people. But if you can manipulate the system, you know, or the methodology to be able to make it work for you, then it's helpful. And especially if you know exactly what changes you need to make and what things you need to do in order to get to that point. So we're going to do the same thing that we did with the grounding, because it works well with this activation too. It doesn't work well with each energy phase, but it works well with these two. So what unactivated looks like. Unactivated is really what people will identify with, if you've been there, is being depressed, is all the symptoms of depression. So you're sluggish, you're probably sleeping a lot, you're probably overthinking. Again, the overthinking thing comes up through a lot. Probably putting on weight in some ways because you're just kind of slowing yourself down, eating foods that you probably shouldn't be eating. So like the processed junk, that's going to slow down your entire system and slow down your mind, slow down your spirit, all that fun jazz, not so fun jazz. Feeling unmotivated. That's usually what unactivated feels like. And then activated, again, is the exact opposite. So there's like this joie de vivre type feeling. Like this really like, I want to go on and take on the world, and I want to go do fun things today, and I could dance through the streets kind of deal. Motivated, excited, like that's what activated feels like. Now that we've kind of covered that a little bit, when you activate, you don't necessarily activate. This is what I mentioned before. You don't necessarily activate the same energies that somebody else will. Just because I activated one energy for myself doesn't mean that you're going to activate, or that you need to activate that same energy. We could both be feeling similarly when we're unactivated, and then when we're activated feel completely different, but it's right for each one of us. So let me explain how this feels. When you are activating, you're either going to be activating the masculine energy within yourself or the feminine energy within yourself, or some combination thereof. Again, this is, we're working about integrating and balancing here, but it just depends on what you need at that point. Now, when I was unactivated, I was not really fully in either feminine or masculine energy. I was just kind of blah. And that's part of the problem. But I had been working with my feminine energy at that point. So when I felt activated for the first time, and I was like, okay, what the hell happened here? I actually activated the masculine energy within me, the part of me that wants to go get things done. The feminine in me loves to talk and loves to think and kind of play around with concepts and dance, and that's the feminine in me. But the masculine in me would be like, let's go get shit done. And I can be really productive when I am in that energy. Problem is, for me, with my personality point, it is a short-lived one. So it's kind of like I'm sprinting. So I will get a lot done in a short period of time, and then I'm sitting my ass down. You cannot move me. Like, I won't do it. It's not gonna happen. I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna watch Netflix, and that's it. Like, that is the end of it for me. And I may get reactivated again later on in the day, but I work in chunks like that. That's how my masculine energy works. You may not know how yours works right now, and that's totally fine. That's the whole point of all of these videos, is just to be like, okay, well, this is where I'm at right now. Okay, so when you activate, so this when I talk about activation, you have to be able to do. I'll try to make sure that I identify whether I'm talking about masculine or feminine. But within yourself, you have to understand if you are masculine dominant, then you need to activate the feminine in you. I'm going to say this a few more times, but when you activate it for the first time, it might feel uncomfortable. And it's okay because it's the first time that you're actually kind of getting into this stuff. But like when I felt that activation and I hadn't felt my masculine energy be activated in years, I was like, okay, I don't know what to do with this. Like I didn't know what work I had to get done. And I always have a to-do list going and I could have just looked at it. But I felt so foreign to me that I actually had to sit with it for a little bit. And I think I actually tamped it down by waiting because I didn't know where to put that energy. But that's okay because this is a learning process. It's a process. So just be okay with the fact that it's a process. All right, that's just a disclaimer. But anyway, so when you're activating, you're going to be activating either the masculine or the feminine, and it's going to be balancing you out some way. Usually it's one or the other, so I'm going to go with that. But sometimes you could be activating both at the same time, and that's totally fine too. You just have to. That's what's needed for you, so you will know how to handle that. I promise you. So how do you activate these energies? Masculine, again, these are things that have worked for me and my clients. They may not necessarily work for you, but they might. So test them out, see if they work. If they don't, then try something else. And if something else works, please drop it in the comments so I can learn from you because, we're all here to teach each other. So that would be great. Thanks. So activating the masculine, again, goes down to movement. Usually movement is one of those pillars, self-care pillars. I'll be talking about these too, but one of the self-care pillars that comes up a lot is movement. And with masculine energy, because it's a very get things done, it's go, go, go. Movement is usually the best way to activate that. So that once you start flowing the energy within you, you can start to then bring that, build that up within yourself and then put it out through your work. All right. So it could be, getting your workout in. It could be doing weights. It could be running. It could be doing HIIT training. It could be dancing. And one of the things, this is going to be a little bit of an unpopular opinion, but this has actually worked for me for my betterment, is getting pissed off. Now, especially for women, getting pissed off is not something that's encouraged. We're encouraged to smile and be nice and sociable and all these other things that I could really give a crap about. But when women get angry, we get shit done. Things happen, things change. Your current climate in the government, in the political climate, will tell you that. Pissed off woman, well, hell hath no fury as a pissed off woman, or however that quote goes. Oh, what is it? Hell hath no fury as a woman scorned. There you go. Do not piss off a woman because we will go get shit done. So getting pissed off, if you know how to channel that anger, it's got to be rightfully channeled. But if you know how to channel that anger, man, you should see the things you could get done in that energy. It's fantastic. I've been there. I've gotten pissed off and written 10 pages. It's awesome. Of actually good 10 pages. When I went back and read it, I was like, oh, I don't have to edit out most of this. It's good. It's surprising, but it's good. So that's also getting pissed off for a woman is a good thing if you know how to channel that energy. So again, bit of an unpopular opinion, but works out really well. So that's a couple of examples of how you can activate the masculine within you. Activating the feminine, again, the feminine gets kind of a bad rap because she's very soft, she's very giving, she's very nurturing. That's who a lot of us women are. Now, again, dancing works for both. It depends on the kind of dance you do. It depends on the song you're dancing to. Dancing is one of those things that is near and dear to my heart. It saved my life more times than I can count, but it works as, it's a kind of a Swiss Army knife. It works for a bunch of different things. Meditation with the intention of activating your feminine energy. Or working with your Kundalini energy. If you've ever worked with that energy, that is also very important. These are all parts of your feminine. And this is, we have both. We need both, and we need to integrate both of these energies, because that's where we're headed. That is the goal of all of this, is to become whole in and of ourselves. Meaning whole is not like some other person coming in and making us whole. We are already whole. And it's just a matter of us recognizing that and using self-care to get there by unifying these two energies. And you have to activate both of them in order for them to integrate. All right. And sometimes you will, or another way to activate your feminine is through an orgasm. Now, this is not necessarily by having sex, guys. Okay. Sex means that when you're having sex with somebody else, you are incorporating their energy with yours. But if you want to activate just your feminine energy, you want to just orgasm through masturbation. That is actually the best way of doing it, because it's just your energy, and it's just you learning what your feminine energy needs to get there. It's very important to have that knowledge within yourself, because you don't want to, A, you don't want to be dependent on somebody else to get you there, and B, it's really important to know how your feminine energy feels when it's activated within yourself in that way. So I actually recommend this to everybody, but please, girls, learn how to pleasure yourselves, please. It's really important. So take the time to do that. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. But when you activate some of these energies, particularly with masculine energies and people who are feminine energy dominant, it can feel anxiety ridden. You can feel a little bit anxious, kind of antsy, like that kind of feeling is common, and again, totally okay. It's a foreign feeling to have both of these energies running through you, activated at both times. But we can't integrate them. And fear is also something that gets activated, that usually is actually your masculine energy being like, come on, go and do something. Because fear, we tend to run away from fear, all right? It's a common thing. We've been taught this. Oh, I really wish this would go away. But anyway, fear is depending on how it's activated, but if you're trying to do something really important, and you stop yourself because you're feeling fear, that's actually your masculine energy being activated. And you can quickly integrate that by taking that fear and doing what needs to be done anyway. And all of a sudden you will have integrated it with yourself, and all of a sudden that doesn't exist anymore. Now it's just your masculine energy. Now it's confidence. And that's how you kind of present yourself into the world. So a lot of the negative feelings that we associate, anxiety, depression, these kind of things, when they get activated, and we can activate them at any given moment, but fear and anxiety, when we activate these, it's actually a really great opportunity to quickly integrate them, because when they're coming up in response to an action you're about to take, once you take that action, they get automatically integrated. Even if it's just a little bit, they've now dissipated from where they were, become one with the energy within you, and now all of a sudden you're good to go. It's going to be a lot easier to do that action the next time, because it's part of that negative feeling, the fear, the anxiety has been integrated already. All right. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. If you guys have any questions, pop them down below. I know this was a lot of information coming at you guys. I will see you guys again next week. We're going to be talking about integration next week. So it'll make more, hopefully all the times I've mentioned integration up until now, if it's been a little bit confusing, it will make more sense. All right. Up until that point, thank you guys for joining me. I love you guys. Please take care of yourselves. Take time to cherish yourselves. And then I will see you all next week. Bye.